Welcome into Friends in the Corner podcast, a new podcast experience here in the Bluegrass State of Kentucky. This is episode 7, and I'm your host, Dan Pauly. And today we've got a great interview with Kelly Hieronymus out of West Sixth. We're going to talk a little bit about the brewery out there on West Sixth. We're going to talk about their downtown location, the Green Room, and of course we're going to talk about that big, beautiful farm there I got out there in Franklin, Kentucky as well. But before we do that, I got to tell you, I'm on cloud 9 today, as I want to just share some very exciting news for you guys. My best friend back up in Ohio, Mr. Sam Holmes, he's a youth pastor up in the Dayton area. He just texted me here a little bit ago to let me know that him and his wife, Melissa, just had a beautiful baby boy born today. And so that's just some exciting news just to start the day off with here. So exciting news for them, exciting news for my friends and family, all that know Sam and Melissa very well. So we just want to say congratulations to them. And Mr. Austin Statler Holmes, welcome into this world, my friend. But guys, it's been one heck of a week, hasn't it? We've had a lot of news that's around the bluegrass we got to even cover here soon. We can't go another minute without talking about it, can we? Of course not. Kentucky, the Kentucky Wildcats, Big Blue Nation, the Boys in Blue, the battalions of the bluegrass. They are ranked number 17 in the country. They are 4-0 in the country. They are 2-0 in the SEC. Yes. This past week, the Boys in Blue were back in the Bluegrass, taking on the number 14 ranked Mississippi State Bulldogs. And everyone was counting UK out in this game. There's no way they're going to stop that top 10 defense of MSU. But you know what? The Boys in Blue, they responded to that. And UK be sure to let them know whose territory this was. Benny Snell ran for 165 yards with 4 touchdowns in the game. And the Kentucky Wildcats went on to beat Mississippi State 28-7. And now UK is ranked for the first time since 2007. And it's the first time they've been 4-0 in over a decade. Guys, it is a good time to be a UK fan here in the Big Blue Nation. Some other news that's come out around the Bluegrass here. Former Secretary of State John Kerry visited the UK men's basketball team this past week. And Coach Cal, where he was able to watch an open practice, that visit had a few mixed reactions from Big Blue Nation itself. Talking a little bit more about politics, last week Kentucky Supreme Court heard the arguments regarding the new public pension law and the constitutionality of the law after the legislation process that brought it into being. The law was originally struck down by Franklin Circuit Judge Philip Shepard this past June. And a state of emergency has been declared in one Kentucky district as a water reservoir in Martin County has begun to run low. The reservoir provides drinking water to about 3,500 Eastern Kentucky residents. If the state of emergency continues, there may be some required restrictions on the use of water in that area, along with the risk of water outages as well. So be sure to keep those individuals in the Martin County area in your thoughts and prayers. Also remember, guys, that you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at FITC Podcast. And you can always email the show at friendsinthecorner@gmail.com. That's friendsinthecorner, altogether lowercase, @gmail.com. And if you're listening to this show on either iTunes or Stitcher, please be sure to leave us a review on those websites. The more reviews that we get, the better notifications that we can give out to people about Friends in the Corner and get the name out there. The more you can do to help us out, the better, and the more better content we can put out there as well. But that's all we have for news around the Bluegrass. And guys, it's time to talk about the main event of this evening. Guys, I want to tell you about one of my favorite places to go here in the Lexington area. It's a place I love to take friends and family when they're in town, and I love to just hang out on the weekends, and that is West Sixth Brewing. West Sixth is a brewery that's here in the Lexington area. They were one of the very first breweries to start here in Lexington and create that big brewery boom that we've experienced over the last couple of years. They've launched everything from the Cocoa Porter to their own IPA to a number of other things that they've been canning, bottling, putting out there. You can find just about any beer of theirs around town here and even some parts outside of town as well. But West Sixth has become quite the name here in the Lexington area and around the state as well. So, guys, I wanted to sit down and talk to someone from West Sixth just about the craft beer boom that we've experienced over the last year, a little bit of the history about West Sixth as well, and, of course, some of the stuff they got coming down the road here as well, especially with that brand new farm that they just started out in Frankfort, and we're excited to see where that thing goes as well. And guys, Kelly Hieronymus from West Sixth was gracious enough to give us a little bit of her time to tell us a little bit about what she's seen and the changes in the craft beer industry, and of course, what they've got coming down the road here for West Sixth as well. So guys, you don't want to miss this interview. Check it out right now. All right, well, we're down here at 501 West 6th Street at one of my favorite places here in Lexington, West Sixth Brewing Company. And with me today is Kelly Hieronymus. How are you doing today, Kelly?
I'm good. I'm great. Having a West Sixth IPA as we speak.
Yeah. Well, I've got myself an Oktoberfest here, one of the best Oktoberfests in town, I'm just saying.
It's that time of year.
Yes, it's a wonderful time. So cheers to this. Well, caught you at the wrong time. There you go. Well, Kelly, thank you so much for joining us here today, and just thank you for so much taking the time out of your day to talk to us a little bit about West Sixth.
Absolutely.
I always tell people when I bring people in from out of town, West Sixth is one of my favorite places to take them to because I love the atmosphere. I love just everything that's going on in this building, everything that's going on in this area. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just excited to be here today with you.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
So if you don't mind, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what your role is here at West Sixth?
Absolutely. I have been with West Sixth since almost the beginning. I guess you can say 2 months after we opened. I started bartending here, but now through a couple different channels and the growth of the brewery, I'm the creative director here at West Sixth. So I run all of our brand management, our marketing, when we put new beers on the shelf, when we start new projects. That's kind of my hat that I wear. Maybe multiple hats, you could say. So
you're working the strings of the puppet, making it all come together.
Yeah, trying to, and making sure that, we're working well as a team and, not only putting out great beer and doing great things for the community, but making it look really good too, and making sure, we put on great events, we have great experiences with people, and people feel proud of West Sixth as a brand for Kentucky and for Lexington.
Right. Well, what a brand it's been here in the Lexington area. I mean, everywhere you go around town, you can see a little bit of presence of West Sixth just about everywhere you go.
We hope that you see that West Sixth IPA on the shelf from far away and recognize it as a piece of home.
Yeah.
So.
And not just here in Lexington, but I go all the way up to Cincinnati, and you can see the beers up there.
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
All over.
We really want to be the beer of Kentucky. We want people to cross into state lines and see that West Sixth IPA is at the local Shell station or at Kroger or wherever, and pick it up and share it with their friends. So.
Well, that's very awesome. Well, that's great beer. And I was just wondering, could you tell us a little bit about the history of West Sixth for us here?
Absolutely. Well, West Sixth was founded in 2012 by 4 owners, Ben Self, Brady Barlow, Joe Kuzman, and Robin Seither. They all kind of came from different backgrounds, and they didn't technically know each other. But I think that was one of the key ingredients when West Sixth started, is they all shared the same passion for wanting to create a great craft brewery in Lexington. Prior to us opening and Country Boy opening, which we opened within a month of each other, there really wasn't a great craft beer tap room in the city. And all the 4 owners had experienced craft beer in different ways, shapes, and forms, whether it's through their spouses or visiting other places. And they were like, let's make a place for Lexington to be proud of, a hub for the community to come, and a place where great beer is made. So that was kind of the original thought. And they stumbled upon this building, which is an old Rainbow Bread Factory. It's about 90,000 square feet. Immediately thought, whoa, we're not going to use all this space. Why don't we outreach to other tenants? Why don't we fill the little holes with other like-minded businesses and nonprofits and people that were passionate about reusing a building space and kind of creating a hub. Little did they know that their 5-year projections were busted by September of 2012. They thought that they were going to sell a lot less beer than we actually did. They thought they were going to sell a lot less 6-packs of West Sixth IPA than we actually did, which was a great problem to have. So we actually take up probably 40% of the building as a whole, 40 to 50% of the building
And
as a
so
whole.
do you guys lease out the rest of the building?
Yeah, we have all kinds of tenants. We have Broke Spoke Community Bike Shop. We have the Roller Girls of Central Kentucky, Bluegrass Distillers, Food Chain, which is a fantastic nonprofit indoor aquaponic fish farm. Our restaurant next door, Smithtown Seafood, the Plantry upstairs, Magic Beans Coffee Roasters, and we have a kind of collective of studio artists in the back area as well.
Oh, wow, yeah, it's amazing. For those of you who've never been down here to the building, it's affectionately referred to as the bread box, correct?
Correct.
You could come here and explore all day and just see a number of different things here. I know they've done some open houses here previously.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's just ready to see some really cool stuff around here. I'm friends with some of the guys from Cup of Commonwealth, so I've seen the Magic Beans roaster back there all the time.
They have a tiny little hallway, but man, it smells good. It fills up the whole building.
And there's the distillery back here. What's their...
Yeah, they've been with us for a little while now. They're called Bluegrass Distillers. They're a small-scale craft distiller, and they do... whiskey, some kind of blue corn liquor, and I think that they just released one of their first whiskeys. Obviously, it takes a little while.
Yes.
But they've been with us for a while, aging
Awesome.
bourbon back there. So that's been cool having them in the space, and they have a tasting room as well.
Very cool.
On the Legacy Trail side.
Very cool. So you get your bourbon.
Yep.
But you got your beer on this side.
Yeah,
You get some good smells.
and it's an old bread factory, which is like basically the same ingredients as bourbon and beer.
Right. And I was reading some old articles from some other interviews, and I saw, so this was pretty much just like gutted building before it even got here.
I mean, when they stumbled upon it, I think the first thing that they noticed were the bones of the building were in fantastic shape. So it's, the oldest part of the building is probably now about 120 years old, and it was piecemeal built. But the room that we're actually doing the podcast in right now was the cooling and cutting room of the bread factory. So it has this beautiful round barrel ceiling, steel beams all throughout, and the original tiles on the floor and on the walls. So these tiles have actually been here for probably about 80 years now, almost 80, 90 years, which is cool. And so they would bring the bread into this room and they would slice it and bag it.
Wow.
Which is really cool. So.
Yeah. And it is a really beautiful, just an overall really beautiful building to be in, really beautiful tap room to be in.
Yeah, it's spacious, and it's, we're kind of taking a lot of the natural beauty that came from the original design of the place.
Absolutely. And you kind of hit on a point there that I wanted to go back to and say, okay, when in 2012, when you guys were getting started, the only two people on the street were you and Country Boy.
Correct.
And now it's 2018, and there's breweries all over Lexington. They're Ethereal, Blue Stallion, Mirror Twins, one of the newest ones to the ground.
I think one of the coolest things, and I started bartending in June of 2012, and we opened April 1st. I think one of the coolest things was that us and Country Boy opened essentially around the same time, about a month apart, kind of on opposite ends of downtown, both creating pretty solid beers for being a really new brewery, and give different vibes. We were great friends with them. We worked with them a lot as far as kind of our first 2 years. We got to do a collaboration together within our first year, and I think that having that and kind of throwing it at Lexington's face really fast. It wasn't just one little place, one little watering hole. It was two. So people could experience craft beer. They could walk in and say, I don't know what an IPA is. We can introduce that to them, tell them about the tasting profiles, what the style is about, not necessarily our West Sixth IPA. Educate them, let them try it, let them fall in love with a style of beer that they've maybe never had before or really understood craft beer, and then be able to go to another place in town that was also producing craft beer here in Lexington and continuing that experience. And I think that that's a collective where it's less competitive and it's more enhancing of actual community of craft beer in the city. And so us kind of almost creating like a magnetic field between the two breweries within that first year, I think helped with a lot of growth because people were excited about craft beer. It wasn't just one place to go to that was making local beer. It was two. So I think that was really important.
And then 2 became 3, and 3 became 4, and next thing you know, you can't even turn a corner without finding a craft brewery around Lexington.
I know, and I think that also helps the restaurants too. They can support a local business by putting a local craft beer on tap, which just completes the circle. Eating local food, eating local beers, staying close to home, and really emphasizing the fact that you can put your money back into employees that are working on making a product that's from your city, which I think is really cool.
And it's not just happening here in Lexington, but you can see the craft beer boom all
absolutely.
over the country.
Honestly, Lexington was behind. When we opened up, there was great craft beer all over the U.S. But like 2013, 2014, there was a massive, massive uptick in craft beer nationwide.
And yeah, even in small towns like where I'm from Centerville, Ohio, you can find 2 craft breweries there just right there in town. So it's just amazing just to see how that big of a boom happens. And what do you think kind of caused that boom in the craft beer scene?
Nationwide, I think it was just, you're coming out of 2008, 2009, huge kind of crash in the economy. There's kind of a couple leap years through there, and people are starting to localize themselves more, right? They felt like they couldn't move for a while. People felt like they, couldn't sell their house, couldn't do a lot of things. So you're just kind of staying dormant. And I think that the city of Lexington, particularly around 2012, 13, 14, just started to get a little bit more energy into it. And I think that was reflective of the United States as a whole. There was more energy in, you know what, I'm going to try. I'm going to invest in something new. It's been a while. There's been a lot of places that have shuttered, between 2007 and 2009. Let's start something new. And I think that momentum of a lot of people starting something new and the added bonus of people feeling good about spending their money locally and feeling okay to take that risk. Like, I'm going to take a risk on a local restaurant. I'm going to take a risk on a local product. I'm going to start cooking at home more. I'm going to get a great beer that's made locally to pair with that. I think just started this huge momentum. And breweries, like us, we started and we opened our doors and we canned the West Sixth IPA within a month of opening. We wanted people to be able to take something home. That was a huge part of starting the brewery. Enjoy the tap room, have a great experience with our bar staff and our space, but also grab that 6-pack and take it home and move with it, right? It's a mobile thing. You can take that brand home with you. And that was possible because small-scale canning lines just came online within, 2-ish years of us opening. And I think that was a huge thing for craft beer nationwide, is you didn't have to spend a lot of money on a packaging line. You could get something small scale and be able to do it on your own as a smaller company. And before then, canning lines were insanely expensive. Most like craft sodas, anything like that, was all outsourced to big, huge box companies.
Right.
Like the canning line that we use comes from a small company out of Canada. And just creating the manufacturing, the small-scale manufacturing, I think was important too, because we can run that here, we can package here, we can process here, we can make everything here, and still be a small company. When before, those were limited in the nationwide.
And so, how many cans of beer are you guys now be able to make?
Well, we are around 14, 15, we'll hit about 14 or 15,000 barrels of beer this year.
Wow.
Which is a lot of beer, and I cannot do the math in my head on how many cans that would be.
A lot.
We do cans and kegs. But they, when they first started the brewery, you had to order an entire truckload of cans. We got the West Sixth IPA cans printed, and we had to order a full truckload, which means, I think that's like 16 skids, so like 16 very tall pallets of West Sixth IPA cans. And they were like, man, this is going to last us forever. And then we were out in October. We were completely out. And there was just a few months of people buying that package, it getting distributed out in the city, and realizing, whoa, we've got to continue making this. We've got to see how much more we can roll with it.
Yeah. Well, that's crazy just to see, because you can find West Sixth just almost anywhere in this state now.
I hope so, yeah.
In the Kroger's and the liquor barns, wherever you go. And how many different types of West Sixth are you canning now?
We have 11 cans right now, and that's a combination of seasonal, flagship, one-off beers. We kind of have 4 core flagship beers right now: the West Sixth IPA, the Amber Ale, the Pay It Forward Cocoa Porter, and our West Sixth Cerveza, which went online this year. We also have some seasonal offerings, including the Oktoberfest, which you're enjoying right now.
It is wonderful. Every year it gets better, just saying.
Yeah, it's great. It's great, true style. Awesome German lager.
Absolutely.
Our Penny Ryle Pale Ale is a seasonal as well, and our Belgian Blonde. Oh. And then we have some smaller batch 4-pack cans, including our Snake Eyes Imperial Stout, Heller Heaven Double IPA, Transylvania Triple, and also our Metaweiss Berliner Weiss, which is very, very popular. It's in a little bit of a more limited run, but we do keep that beer year-round, as well as Half Bite, which is a 12-pack session IPA.
Mm-hmm. You also have a bottle series, too.
Correct, yeah. So we sell bottles out of the tap room, very thoughtfully selling them out of the tap room because, we really want to keep the costs as low as we can as far as, it takes a lot of labor production on our hours, and also the beers age for a long time. So we have oak-aged clean beer, so bourbon barrel aged, cocoa porter, our snakes in a barrel. We've had rum barrel aged snakes in a barrel, and those are all clean barrel aged beers, so no bugs, no kind of funky notes to them. And then we have our sixfold series, which is a wild and sour series, so more of those spontaneously fermented beers, things that kind of pick up notes from red wine barrels or twice used bourbon barrels. We add fruit to some of those. We have our Flanders Red, which is a huge labor of love, a conscious blend of 3-year, 2-year, and 1-year-old bourbon barrels. And that's one of our most fantastic bottle beers that we have here. So, yeah.
Yeah, I buy a bottle every Christmas to give out as Christmas presents.
Yeah.
It's always a wonderful little gift to give.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and there's always something different in the tap room in bottles.
Just awesome to see just the impact that Lexington has had on you guys, and obviously with Lexington having an impact on you guys, you guys want to have an impact on Lexington.
Absolutely.
So, can you tell us a little bit about the way you guys give back to the community, and why is that so important to you guys that you have that impact?
In addition to when the doors opened to this place, the goals were simple. It was to make great beer, have a positive impact on the community, and be a great place to work. And the 4 owners kind of decided those early on. The great place to work was less important then because it was them and their wives behind the bar. So it was like, we're in it. But now, we employ with part-time and event staff, we employ almost 50 people, which is really, really cool. Being a good tenant of the community, having a good relationship with the community is not only giving back monetarily, but being present for people, for their events, for creating a space where people can come with ideas. I mean, our running club and yoga club were not started by West Sixth Brewing, contrary to popular belief. They were started by customers that came in and said, I have an idea. Can I do this here? What can you do to help? And then, we add the space. We say, okay, do it every, Tuesday night. We'll buy a bag of pretzels for you to give away for free. Or we will do a free T-shirt after someone comes and runs 5 times. And then little do we know, our second summer, we're having upwards of 250 people showing up on Tuesday nights to run a loop around downtown Lexington and come back and enjoy a beer and a free pretzel with us. And that was all started by community members. So I think a lot of that is just listening to people when they come in with ideas. And then constantly trying to innovate. Our Pay It Forward Cocoa Porter is one of the biggest giving programs that we have. And, I think it's important for for-profit businesses in Lexington to be thoughtful and have intention when it comes to giving. We're here to make a profit, right? We're here to make beer and sell it. But I think giving back to the community only increases our ties to why we want to be a part of Lexington, why we want to be a part of Kentucky. So our Pay It Forward Cocoa Porter, we give back 50 cents of every 6-pack that's sold to a nonprofit in the area that it was sold in. So Kentucky's split up into 5 different groups. Those nonprofits are nominated each quarter by our staff. The nonprofits have to kind of submit an application for it, and then we change those things over. And then at the end of every quarter, we write a check to 5 or 6 different nonprofits around the state based on those Cocoa Porter sales. We've even had our distributors match that. So in some places, it's almost $1 per 6-pack going back to a nonprofit.
Wow.
Which is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, grabbing a Cocoa Porter 6-pack, it's a fantastic dark beer. You can cook with it. You share it with friends. But every single time you buy one, it goes back to a local nonprofit.
So everyone should be buying Cocoa Porter, it sounds like that.
Yeah, why not?
If you like dark beers, even if you don't like dark beers, you're doing good with your work.
When we committed to doing that, it was kind of a pie-in-the-sky idea. We were like, this sounds like fun. I think we can do it financially. I think it's going to be feasible. We talked to our distributors about it, making sure it got good placement, and made it happen. And just seeing the changes and the different levels of nonprofits that we've been able to help, from small to large, seeing their faces when we turn around that big check every quarter. It's really cool. And to be able to give back in a monetary way is really important for nonprofits, as well as creating a space for them to come and have happy hours or use our event space or do community-based groups.
And it really does seem like, since you guys came on the scene, you guys have really started that movement in Lexington for for-profits to do that, because now you can figure out a number of different for-profits, like Cup of Commonwealth and a couple other ones that do the exact same thing, but you guys were kind of the godfathers of making that happen.
Sure, maybe in Lexington, but I think a lot of this stuff has happened around the U.S., and I think that the owners are really conscious to the fact that giving back is more. It does more after you write the check. It's not really necessarily about that. It's really about planting your roots, making sure people are heard, and then also being open to innovation and ideas, because I don't think that we would have continued giving at the scale that we do without some of our other employees pitching in ideas and just being open and listening to all of those things that could be a potential positive impact on the community, and saying, yeah, let's go for it.
Right. Well, speaking of innovating, you guys have innovated a lot and grown a lot over the last couple of years, so
Correct.
much so that you guys have even moved on beyond just the spread box.
Yes.
But you've opened up a couple new locations. So
Yeah.
can you tell us a little bit about some of the other locations outside of 105 West Sixth Lane here?
Yeah. We have our downtown location, which is shotgun style, very tiny nano brewery bar called the Green Room, and it is right downtown on the same block as 21C. And we have some smaller batch beers that are Green Room specific down there. I think we just tapped our Kumquat Saison, actually.
Ooh, sounds
which
delicious.
is only going to be down here. It'll down there. It'll never come to the brewery, which is really cool. And then, so we have the Green Room, and I think that'll be really great once that pit is filled in and we've got some nice buildings across the street,
making it look a little more attractive and stuff.
Yeah.
It's almost complete.
I know,
It's getting there.
It's wild.
After 4 years of having a hole in the ground.
Yeah, I think maybe a little more than that.
Yeah.
And then we just opened at the beginning of June the West Sixth Farm, which is kind of our pride and joy right now. It's been a project in the mind for 4 years, but we've owned the property for over 2 years now, which is really cool. A testament to kind of what we want to do. Like I said earlier about really growing our roots in the state, we wanted to do something different than just opening another tap room. We wanted to connect Kentucky agriculture to beer, because beer is an agricultural product. And no, Kentucky doesn't produce enough barley to service all of the breweries in the state. We don't even have a malt house in the state, which is something I think we can totally have. But there's just hasn't been enough research and hasn't been enough interest in doing so. We have a small hop yard at the farm. People can interact with hops and hop cone and the vine. You'd be surprised how many people don't know what a hop looks like or realize that it's a plant, and realize that variations in species and actual different varietals of hops, how they change and create different flavors and aromas in beer. It's amazing. The hop is an amazing plant. Having people interact with that, and then just getting back to the basics of just drinking a beer outside and enjoying a piece of land that we kind of think is a little microcosm of what Kentucky is and what it looks like. There's hills, there's woods, there's a creek running through it. We've got some field areas. We have about 4.5 miles of intermediate mountain biking, trail running trail. We have kind of an interloop path. We have chickens, we have cattle, we have bees. We've started growing cider apple trees, blackberry brambles, and raspberry brambles. Those will mature over the years, and in a couple years, we hope to have a state cider out there, which I think will be really, really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't quite been out there yet. I'm hoping to get out here soon.
Get out there.
It looks beautiful though from the pictures you see online, just looking at the trails and all that stuff. So I'm excited to see where you guys go with that West Sixth Farm here. So you're saying that this is going to be hopefully where you guys produce most of the stuff that goes into your beer as best you can. Not
necessarily that.
Okay.
I don't think we'll ever be able to do that.
Okay.
Because there's, one, not enough land, and two, like hops, for example, The majority of all hops used in beers are pelletized, so they're dried and smashed into like a little concentrated small pellet. And the actual volume of a hop cone, gets crushed down into a very small pellet. So creating enough volume for the amount of pounds of hops we put in some of our beers and the amount of the actual liquid volume of beer we have to create, we would never be able to produce enough hops. We would have to have acres and acres and hundreds of acres to do that. But I think it's more educational than anything. We are going to do small batch stuff out there, so wet hopping beers, doing like smaller batch stuff that's made from stuff on the farm. But we won't be able to, produce enough hops to, halt production or halt ordering from kind of the major producers in the country. And we're not intending to do that. I think, like I said, it's an interaction more than anything. It's education. It's, our farm manager out there, he's worked really hard on studying the plant and how it grows in the state of Kentucky, because it's not traditionally grown here. But there are varietals that will grow here. And, what if we can get people to come out there and start thinking about, could this be an economy for the state? Could we start growing hops? Could we start growing, varietals of barley that are used in brewing and not just in distilling? Do we have enough of these people interested to create a malt house where those actual grains are produced and packaged, and malting is like cooking the grains to a certain temperature and color, that we could create an industry for it here, which I think is pie in the sky, like I said earlier, hopes and dreams. But I think more than anything, it's getting people out there and realizing that the thing that you're drinking is made from things from the ground, which is really cool.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. And why did you guys choose Franklin County, Frankfort, for the farmland?
Yeah, I mean, we've been looking for farmland. We've owned this property for 2 years, so like 2 years prior to that, we looked at lots and lots of properties, thinking about this idea, thinking about this concept. The final product is a lot different than what we had as our ideas. We had a whole slew of ideas of what a farm that's owned by West Sixth Brewing could be, an event space, a tap room, all these things. And we'd seen lots of properties around the state in different surrounding counties. I think our kind of checklist was, we didn't want to be too far from the brewery. We wanted to be somewhere accessible for other metro areas in the state. We didn't want to be just truly out in the middle of nowhere where there wasn't a lot of kind of population to enjoy it. We wanted it to be accessible, but not too close to a highway. So we didn't want to be right off the interstate, but we also didn't want to be down 3 curvy roads to get to it. So that's
like
a hard
going out to Makers. It's
exactly, and that's a hard thing to find in the state. It really is. And we stumbled upon this property on Shadrick Ferry, on 127. Right, drive straight down 127, and you get into downtown Frankfort in 10 minutes. We're 10 minutes from Buffalo Trace. We're on kind of that Bourbon Trail line. We're closer to Louisville. We have tons of fans in Louisville. We're still 35 minutes from the brewery, which is a great chunk of time. All those things came together. And then we walk onto the property, and it's really unique. And you can start visualizing, like, wow, we could put a tap room here. We could do an event space here. We could put a hop yard here. We could put cider apple trees here. All of these different things. It started to come together, and we were like, you know what? This is the place. So I think it was more of that than anything. And as we started talking, before we pulled the trigger, talking to people in the community of Frankfort and in Franklin County, and started to really see all these folks kind of popping up saying, we'd love to have you here. We'd love to have you here. We'd love to have you here. Making connections with, local businesses like Canoe, Kentucky, Josephine Sculpture Park, and other, agro-tourism, which is what the farm is, right? It's tourism, outdoors, capturing what is great about Kentucky in a small space, and building on that with other people within the county. So I think that it ended up being a really good fit for us.
Awesome. And as I mentioned, it does look like a beautiful area, worth checking out, going and seeing.
Absolutely.
Bring your family out there as well.
Yeah, you can follow us on Facebook at West Sixth Farm or on Instagram at West Sixth Farm.
And so West Sixth Farm is the newest baby to
correct.
the West Sixth line. But what's some other hopes, and what's some other things you guys are thinking about trying to do to expand?
I mean, people always ask us, when are you going to Indiana? When are you going to North Carolina? I got that this weekend. And we're really not looking to do that. We have started to feel more and more that there is so much growth still to be had in the state. We still see this, as dry counties go wet and they're able to start opening up, different stores and sell local product, sell Kentucky bourbon and Kentucky beer. So we're seeing a lot of that kind of potential, and also in the smaller pockets of Kentucky, that don't get as much attention. I mean, we sell a lot of beer in Western Kentucky too, which is really cool. And how can we continue to flourish that? And we sell a lot of beer in Louisville. So I think the future for us is, hopefully opening another tap room in one of these places down the line. We have nothing online right now, but it's definitely something that we've thought about for the future. Not necessarily growing wide, but growing deep. Just back to the roots thing. I think that's why we felt so passionate and so sure about doing the West Sixth Farm. We were like, this is a great example of what we can do as a company for our state. Providing just a great place for people to hang out and drink a beer, number one, outside. But also building upon, what people love about Kentucky. So I think any projects that come online for those kind of things is what we're going to be looking for.
Awesome. Well, we can't wait to go out there and check out the West Sixth Farm here. We're coming up near the end here, but I just want to give you this time. If you want to plug anything, plug any of the social medias or anything like that, this time is yours.
Absolutely. Like I said earlier, follow us at West Sixth Farm. We're on Facebook and Instagram. You can see all our pictures we post each week, see what events are going on there. Here at West Sixth, we're gearing up for our Oktoberfest. That beer is on the shelves right now. Our Oktoberfest will be October 6th at Coolevin Park, which is the park right down the road from us. We'll have inflatables for kids. We'll have food trucks. We'll have a DJ. We'll be selling beer out there from 2 to 7. And then back in the brewery, we'll fill up the beer garden. We'll pack it out. We'll pour some steins and come enjoy a great Oktoberfest event with us. We do this every year. It benefits Food Chain, which is one of the nonprofits in our building. We've been doing this pretty much since the beginning. It's one of our big annual events, so don't miss it. Feel free to wear your lederhosen or dirndl to get in the spirit.
Don't give me some ideas here. I'll be out there with that.
Yeah, so. You should.
Well, if you've never been down to the brewery before, if you've never been to the green room, if you've never been out to West Sixth Farms, make sure you go check it out. They always bring a very positive, great atmosphere. It's one of my favorite places to come in Lexington, as I mentioned before, and I definitely will be back. So, Kelly, thank you so much for your time. Hopefully we'll get you on some more future podcasts, and we're excited to see what happens down the road here with West Sixth Brewing Company.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And that's all we have for West Sixth and Kelly Hieronymus. I want to thank Kelly again for her time, just letting us know about some of the stuff coming down the line here with West Sixth, some of the stuff that's taken them from where they were in that old bread building to this time now. And guys, I think want you guys to go out and continue to support West Sixth as well. Go buy a few cocoa pours to help out the community. Also, be sure to follow them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. You can follow them on Twitter and Instagram at West Sixth. You can follow West Sixth Farms also on Instagram as well. Be sure to check out their brewery at 501 West 6th Street, the Green Room downtown at 109 West Main, and be sure to go out to that beautiful farm out in Frankfort as well and give them some of your support and let them know Dan Pauly sent you. Also, if you want to support me, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're at FITC Podcast. That's FITC Podcast. You can email the show at friendsinthecorner@gmail.com. That's friendsinthecorner, all together, lowercase, at gmail.com. And if you're listening on iTunes or Stitcher, be sure to leave us a review so that we continue to get the name out there of Friends in the Corner. Guys, that is it for this episode of Friends in the Corner, and that is it for the month of September as well. We've got some original content coming out for you guys here next month in October, and we're going to be starting off strong with a bourbon review. So you don't want to miss that. That'll be next week. Until then, guess what? Do you know? I think you know. Yeah, of course you know. That's a wrap.